In today's episode, Melissa asks, as part of IBM's launch of Multicloud Manager, how important is avoiding vendor lock-in with regard to cloud computing? Full disclosure, my company is an IBM Registered Business Partner, and should you buy something from IBM through Trust Insights, I will indirectly benefit financially. So, now that we've got the compliance out of the way, that's actually kind of the heart of all of this. Avoiding vendor lock-in with cloud computing isn't as big a deal today as it was 20 years ago, because 20 years ago, when I was working full-time in IT, you would make a choice on a vendor, right? And the truck would pull up to the shipping dock and start offloading millions of dollars in servers and proprietary hardware and stuff into your server room. And at that point, you're like, boy, I hope I made the right choice, because that's an awful lot of hardware. And knowing IT as it is, it's going to stay parked in that server room for a very long time. And so you had to make the right choice. And of course, we're all human and don't necessarily make great choices, or didn't understand the choice we were being offered. And so you had to adapt around those choices. Now, the benefit of cloud computing is that you don't have to do that anymore. You can switch providers. Yes, there's the infrastructure in terms of the code that you write, that's whether it's specialized to a particular platform or not. But today's cloud computing environment is much more flexible. You build your applications or your marketing technology or your whatever inside of a container, like Docker or Kubernetes, and then you can literally pick that container up and move it from one provider to another. You can say, okay, I'm going to take this from Amazon to Google, Google to IBM, IBM to Red Hat, etc., and move this container around. And it should function identically no matter where you move it, because it's a little virtualized environment. So vendor lock-in is not a huge deal, as long as you've architected your systems correctly. Now, so to, I guess, answer Melissa's question, it's not very important. But from both a marketing technology and an IT perspective, where cloud computing has gone wrong, and where a service like IBM's new Multicloud Manager, as well as the ICP for Data platform, will help fix, is the lack of governance, the lack of policy, and the lack of centralization, which leads to security breaches and security problems. And this is a problem because of cloud computing. Cloud computing has made it so easy to spin up a new system, a new container, a new software project. Just try things out. You can sign up for free or very, very low-cost cloud environments and say, hey, let's just try this thing out. And a lot of people do, particularly at larger companies. Developers are just going to make stuff. And because it's very powerful computing at extremely low costs, people don't think about doing the preparatory work and the governance work that they need in order to do those projects securely and in a way that will scale. You figure, oh, I'm doing it in Kubernetes, so it'll just scale up as usage scales up. Well, I mean, kind of. You still have to write decent code. This gets even worse from marketing technology, because in marketing technology, vendors are putting their hooks into all these multiple clouds and bringing all these cloud environments into your company without a whole lot of governance. I've talked to an awful lot of marketing technology vendors at the various conferences I've been at, and they can't even necessarily say like what systems they're built on. They're like, oh, it's all cloud computing. Okay, who's cloud? I don't know. Well, maybe that's fine for a small business where you don't really care, you just need to get a result. But at a larger business, at an enterprise, if the answer, I don't know, doesn't fly when you start talking to auditors. And then the third thing that's happening with cloud computing is that executives are buying things they don't really understand, as long as it has today's buzzword on it. Well, that's cloud, that's AI, that's machine learning. We checked the box, we bought the thing. I mean, it's like saying you bought the car. Okay, what kind of car? There's a really big difference between a Toyota and a Tesla, right? There's some very, very big differences. And so it's become the Wild West for marketing technology in particular. I think it was CIO magazine said that as of 2017, the CMO spends more than the CIO on technology. And marketers have traditionally not been concerned about things like governance, because marketing tools didn't necessarily need it. Now they do. Now that there's such a core part of the enterprise, now that they're such an important store of very sensitive, very potentially dangerous data, like personally identifiable information, protected health information. Marketers have an obligation to adhere to the same rules that IT has had to play by for the last 50 years. We have to have things like security and governance and policies, and something like Multicloud Manager and ICP for data. One of the most powerful features of these platforms is that they're sort of an abstraction layer and a governance layer. You put in, here's our corporate policies, here's how we're going to protect this information, here's what information people are or are not allowed to have access to, and then it reaches to the data stores where they are. If you've got stuff in IBM Cloud or Google Cloud or AWS or maybe you've got Docker containers running locally, it will then take those policies that you specify and push them out across all these different environments and say, okay, this is what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. So a real simple example, suppose that you are a company and you're in marketing, and on your website you have a quiz. Ask people, like, this fun Facebook quizzes. What's your name? What's your weight? And what's your zodiac sign? Name is protected information, personally identifiable information. That has to be protected. Someone's weight. It's like a carnival game, but guess what? Weight is actually protected health information. It's extremely dangerous data to have laying around. And so you now have a potentially significant governance problem, being able to say in MCM or ICP for data, okay, we're going to de-identify this data, so we're going to remove name entirely. So if you're going to build a machine learning model on this for marketing purposes to predict who's going to be a great customer, we're going to take names out of it. You can build your model, but you don't need that. And we're going to bucket the weights, so it's no longer a specific number. Now it's a bucket between 120 pounds and 130 pounds. Okay, now we've de-identified that. And your zodiac sign, that's fine, because that's fairly vague anyway. And by doing that level of de-identification, now you can say, okay, now developers, now marketers, now technology teams, you can access this data and work with it, but it has been governed, it is compliant with security policies, and if that data gets breached somehow, it's not going to cause a risk because it's no longer dangerous in that format. And so vendor lock-in is not as important as multi-vendor security, as having that governance. Governance is a pain in the butt. It's not fun. But getting sued is much less fun. Working 5 days straight in your server room because you had a data breach is much less fun. And so for all of us in marketing, in IT, in the lines of business, we just have to remember, take a little bit of fun out on a daily basis so that we don't have large periods of super not fun should things go wrong. As always, if you have questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll put a link to Multicloud Manager in the show notes. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.